One of the founders of Veterans for Peace and our poet laureate, Doug Rawlings, to come up for just a minute. I know he's got a benediction that we all want to hear.
I look before me at this sea of faces, and I have to tell you with great surety, there are more people here than were at Donald Trump's inauguration. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. And some of you are veterans. That means that you were in the military, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're beautiful. You're all beautiful. All right, I just had to do that. I had to channel it, dude. All right, I'm going to channel this guy behind me and tell you that 12 years ago, Veterans for Peace was formed. We formed in 1985 to abolish war, and we said we would do it nonviolently. And here we are today, still hard at work. So my job right now is to give a benediction for our march to the White House. It's a blessing for you. We are the Light Brigade. We are veterans who have returned from the dark side of empire. And we know our old masters will not welcome us back, for we have found the light. We are the light. We are no longer the toys of empire. We have become a force of love and have the power to ignite our sisters and brothers now in uniform into a burning incandescent force of its own. So today, we ask them to join us as we rage against the war machine, as we turn our despair into righteous anger. We are veterans who have come home. We have found our way to nonviolence, but we are prepared to fight. We have put those who wage war on notice. You no longer control our bodies, our minds, nor our children anymore. We are the Light Brigade. And warmongers far and near, hear this loud and clear. We come in peace, but we are coming for you. Abandon the weapons trade or face the charge of the Light Brigade. Woo!
Yeah.
Next speaker, Matt was a former Marine captain who was in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's a former State Department official who resigned in protest from his post in Afghanistan over U.S. strategic policy. Prior to his assignment in let's give him a hand of applause for that, right there.
Yeah.
Prior to Afghanistan, he served in Iraq, first in 2004 and 5 in Salah al-Din province with the State Department Reconstruction and Governance team. And then in 2006 and 7 in Anbar province as a Marine Corps company commander. He's a member of the VFP Advisory Board, and I am proud to say he has been on Veterans for Peace delegations with myself and others to Standing Rock, Okinawa, and Palestine.
Yeah.
I love this guy, Matt Ho.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure to be here in front of so many people who have inspired me, who've given me courage over the last 9 or 10 years. I remember being at Arlington Cemetery crying at the graves of friends of mine 10 years ago, friends who have been killed for no purpose in Iraq. And it's very hard for me to know that we are still killing people, killing men, women, and children 10 years later. I can't believe that we're still doing it. But it should be no surprise. You know, we're standing here in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and as may have been said or will be said at some other point, it's 95 years to the day that the Lincoln Memorial was dedicated. What gets left out about that conversation a lot was that at that point in 1922, the KKK was at the height of its power. 4.5 million Americans were part of the KKK. The Great Migration was underway. The Great Migration, as I was taught, was African Americans looking for work. The reality was African Americans as refugees fleeing from the greatest terrorism the world has probably ever seen.
Yeah.
And that occurred when this monument was built. So we should not be surprised, or I should not be surprised, that the killing still goes on. I can see the Capitol building from here. And every foreign visitor who comes, the great temple of democracy, the great temple of liberty. We tell them about the Statue of Freedom that's on top of it. We leave out that temple of democracy, that temple of liberty was built by slaves. We make it a great point to talk about the Statue of Freedom, how nothing in Washington, D.C., no building can be higher than that Statue of Freedom. But that's only in Washington, D.C. If you go across the river, if you go out Route 66, if you go up the Baltimore-Washington highway, there are certainly plenty of buildings that are much higher than the Statue of Freedom. And they all bear the names Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop, Booz Allen. They all help to make Washington, D.C. and its suburbs have 7 of the 10 wealthiest counties in the country. We should have no surprise about any of this. It's just not the Pentagon, that racket, that unholy building over there, that mafia, right? That building that exists solely for organized murder. It is not just them. It is all these tall buildings with these names on them that all tower over the Statue of Freedom that is on top of the building built by slaves, that provide all these high-paying jobs for all these former colonels and sergeants, that allow this to be by far the wealthiest part of our country. And why is that possible? It's possible because of the killing. Because if it was not for those Afghans, those Iraqis, those Libyans, those Pakistanis, those Somalis, those Syrians, and those Yemenis that we kill every day, none of those buildings and none of those salaries would be possible. And so what I propose, because that obviously is what makes America great, those salaries and those tall buildings, I propose that going forward, the day after Memorial Day, we have an alternate Memorial Day. We have an alternate Memorial Day to remember those men, women, and children who every day, including today, are being killed are being ripped apart, are being burned alive by our bombs. All so that this area here can be the wealthiest part of our country. So that people like me can leave the military and have high-paying jobs in the defense industry or in the intelligence industry. You can tell there's obviously a lot of anger I have about all this. You know, of course, there's no separating the wars at home from the wars abroad, right? There's no coincidence that the day that Donald Trump announced the largest weapon sale in the history of mankind to the most repressive regime in the world, of course, that the largest reduction in health care and food assistance was also announced. That's not a coincidence. So on that alternate Memorial Day, I also propose that we recognize those who are victimized by our wars at home.
Yes.
Those who have died at home, here, dying for America's greatness here. Those first people, those African Americans, those Asian Americans who helped build the West or who were interned, our brothers and sisters from south of our border, and of course, those who will die from not having the health care they need. But, as I said, it's been 10 years since I came home from Iraq that time and cried at the graves of my friends. And still, we're killing. Still, the money is being made. And it's, as I said, it's hard to believe, but it still goes on. But anyway, I want to start this as I began it, though, by saying thank you all for being here, and thank you for the inspiration so many who I see here have provided me, so many who give me courage, so many who have shown me the right way to conduct myself and to lead my life. I see so many of your faces in front of me, including one standing right to my left. So thank you all very much.